events and sanctions. We're going to start by clicking on the left-hand side on the dashboard events, and then on the right-hand side, create new event. We're going to scroll down to our financial organization. In this case, it's BC Speed Skating Events and Clinics. And then we're going to enter our listing details. The start date, the event address is required, or location. If you have an event website, you can enter it here or skip it, but you do require a contact email and phone number. If you have an event logo, you can drag and drop it right here, or you can upload it later. Click Done. Under classification, what you'll do is click Event. Social media links you can add now, or you can update them later. And then what's next is to set up registration. Now the registration setup is when does it open, not the registration event for the event itself, but not the event itself, but when does the registration open? So we can go retroactive, and we can go up until the event start date. So if you want to do the day before, who's paying the fees? So is it the user or the organizer? And tax country is Canada, but we're not collecting tax. So under races and categories, you can upload as many categories as you like. Click Add New Category. And then the name. And all this information is what users or registrants are going to see. You can set your capacity. Make sure to add a category description so they know what their category is. And then you can use some of these options here, like restriction by age, by gender, etc. The sort order here is where it's going to display if you have multiple categories on a list. And then your price, of course. If you have discounts to add, like an early bird discount or discount by registration count or date, you can add that information here for this category. Then you'd save and create another, or if you have no other categories to create, you can click Save. You might have multiple categories here, but for this example, we only have one. I can always go back and edit this information or delete it if I have to. And click Done. Now it's going to ask which registration fields. So what information do you want to collect from your registrants? So right now it's requiring these ones here, but I can add these ones if they're required, optional, or hidden. And I can also create a new form, so asking more questions to the participants. In this case, I'm just going to click Done. And you don't have to have your questions all loaded in here. You can always add them later. Under education tracking, we're not tracking this right now. It's for a competition, so we'll skip that. For agreements and waivers, we'll add an agreement here. This is where you add in your waivers. And so you'll create a title for the waiver itself. Is it a waiver or is it a refund policy? And who's it for? Is it for minors or adults or both? So separate agreements in this case. Age of consent in BC is 19. So we click Done. We'll select English and Done. And here's where you'll upload your waivers. So you can either copy and paste your waiver in, or you can upload a file, so a Word doc or a PDF. And where you'll find the most up-to-date version of the waivers would be bcspeedskating.ca. When you go About and Resources, and if you scroll all the way down, or you just click Competition here, it's going to drag you down to all the resources we have for hosting a competition. You'll click Waivers, and then there's two waivers here. You can download the waiver for minor or adult for this season. And then just make sure you fill in the club information, the event information, and so on. Once you have those complete, you can go back to IceReg and upload them in. So for the sake of this demo, I'm not going to upload a waiver. But normally you would upload a waiver, or you can upload it later once we're all set up. Click done, and I'll go to the dashboard, which will be familiar for most of you who have used IceReg in the past. You can still edit all the information that you've entered. So if you want to click edit here on the right-hand side, you edit your information and then click save. Give it a minute to save. And then you can always edit some of the content you might have and so on. So a lot of this is quite customizable. So if you want to update any of this information with photos, email headers, registration confirmation, you can edit. I would suggest editing this one in particular because it does have IceReg as a default here. And you can enter the body of the text. You can change if you want to use HTML and so on. Just click save. Make sure it's saved, and then you can go through the rest. Contact information if it changes. The styling is quite customizable if you like to change the backgrounds and that kind of thing with the registration page. The registration categories, here we go again. What the category we entered was skater before of $30. You can edit that here. You can delete it. You can add new categories. Registration rules is important to set up. And so what you'll have to do is click registration rules for all registrations, and you'll add a rule. So in this case, what we'll look for is BC speed skating, the season. And since in this example, we're doing a interclub, you'll have to have a club athlete membership or above. So what I'm going to do is select club athlete and anything above it in the hierarchy, which is national and provincial. So in this case, if someone went to go register for our interclub in this example, they'd have to hold a club, provincial, or national athlete membership. If they had a coach only or they had a volunteer only, basically it's going to prompt them at checkout for the registration to upgrade their membership to the minimum. So it would be club athlete. And I'll click save. I'll let it load here. And so now we see that it requires these membership categories to enter this event itself. Registration forms we entered before, but we can also add more here. So just create a new form. Team categories you can skip. For the MailChimp setup, if you have MailChimp, you can link it to your MailChimp account. The waivers here, this is what we skipped before, but you will have to have your agreement added in here. Like I said, if you go to bcspeedskating.ca and go to the resources, you can download those forms. If you have any stores or anything else you want to add on, you can always do that under here. I always recommend clicking the View Registration page. That's going to give you the front end view of what your page looks like for your participants. So once this registration is approved, it's going to have, if you had the logo, it'd appear here. It would have a little button, just like registration for the season has, and they'd click register for this event. Like I said before, all this is customizable within the configuration. I would highly recommend registering for the event yourself. You can always delete it later, but just give it a test run to make sure everything is working correctly. Once that's all set up and ready to go, you're going to click Submit Event for Review, and that's going to send to IceReg, and they're going to send you a few questions back that we'll see here in a minute. And because my permissions are a little different, I can set the event live right away. This is similar to what you'll see from IceReg, just making sure everything is correct. And that you agree with the terms. Okay, once it's approved and ready for review, then we'll go on to sanctions.